Hey, Katie and Peter here, and we are inspiring others by fearlessly empowering ourselves. And today we are going to talk about Matthew 14:25 through 33 in the Esoteric Word. And so I'll read to you the passage, and then we'll do just a quick meditation to come into this moment, and then we'll get right to it. So, shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, the fishermen in the boat, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked onto the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. And so, like I said, we will get into this in just a moment. And Peter has helped me to understand the esotericness of this passage about stepping outside of and beyond the comfort zone. And then that wind is those external factors. So again, before we get started, I'll just invite us to close our eyes, and if you have glasses on, you can leave them on or take them off, and begin to breathe in through your nose, into your lungs, and then your diaphragm, and out through your mouth. On the next inhale, we'll breathe into our heart and feel that energy extend to your fingers and your toes. And again, breathe out through your mouth. And allow yourself to feel your body in the chair. Notice the temperature in the air of the room that you're in. Notice any sounds that may be around you. Allowing yourself to come into this present moment, to be in the here and now, for it is truly all that we have. So breathing into the space, focusing your inner vision with your eyes closed on your third eye, your forehead area, and allow an intention to come through you today. It may be an intention to be calm, maybe to understand the teachings, maybe to have clarity on your path. Whatever your intention for today is, allow yourself to breathe that in, breathing that intention in through your nose, into your heart, and extending that energy of this beautiful intention out to your fingers and toes. And breathe out through your mouth. We'll do one more breath like this, fully integrating this intention into our cellular memory. So again, breathe in through your nose, into your heart, extending to your fingers and your toes, into your head, and breathe out through your mouth. And at the bottom of this breath, I invite you to slowly start to wiggle your fingers, your toes, blink your eyes, and come back into this present moment. Namaste. Okay, thank you guys. So getting back to it, Peter with the boat and the wind and all of the goodness. What is stepping outside of the boat? Can you give us a deeper understanding of what that even means on a more real life scale?
So when we think about a boat, we think about safety, we think about security, we think about conformity and comfort, right? And stepping out of the safety, the comfort, the conformity, it's like stepping out of the nest, stepping out of the home. And of course, stepping out of the boat takes courage, bravery, and faith. So when you ask what does stepping out of the boat mean from a more practical, down to earth, real life analogy, it means stepping out of one's comfort zone, one's security into the unknown, the void.
Well, I want to ask you another question, but I know we'll get into it a little bit later. So I'm going to hold off on that one. And then looking at the ability to walk on water and being able to step into that consciousness.
Yeah. That's Jesus Christ showed us, exemplified for us how when divine energy flows through us, which we might call high vibes, high vibration. When high vibration flows through us, we feel supernatural, or we become supernatural because our bodies become charged up and vibrating. And when we are in high vibration, every electron in our body begins to vibrate high, and so the things around us that are low vibration become susceptible or subservient to the high vibe, meaning that we supersede the law of nature. And so Jesus Christ showed us he was in deep meditation, deep contemplation, and because he connected so deeply with the presence of the I am, the Father, the monad, his body was charged up to the extent that nature became subjected to him, and he could walk on water, he could float, he became very light because his vibration was high.
That's beautiful. So what I'm hearing you say is that as we raise our vibration, we can tap into more of those supernatural abilities, because when we're living at the 3D level and not raising our vibration, we are living amongst the natural world, and this world has been designed to be supernatural. So that's beautiful. Thank you. And then when we think about, so Peter steps out of the boat and he's on the water and everything's fine. And then he looks around and he starts to notice the wind and the different factors and realizes he's standing on the water. And what happens and why?
It's a good question. That when an individual's self-identity is not secure, then fear and doubt kicks in. When an individual's identity is not connected to the I am that they are, is not connected to the Father, the monad, the source, and the impulses, the astral plane, the things in the world approaches a person who is not connected to the I am, the connection is the rainbow bridge, then automatically within them, their heart starts to beat fast, they become afraid, and that fear reduces their vibration. The fear and the doubt that they have in themselves bring down their vibration. They become dense. Like we can imagine candle, wax again. When you heat up candle wax, it becomes really hot, it becomes liquefied. And imagine as it cools down, it becomes dense and takes form. It's the same thing with our being, is that when a person looks at the external circumstance and they're not secure within themselves and their identity, then they begin to densify. And that densification is what makes them to experience the sinking into the lower dimension. So he started to sink into the water because his vibration was drop, and he was now subsumed by the 3D world.
So what I hear you saying in a today's perspective, so say that I'm living my normal day and everything's going fine. I'm reaching all my goals. I'm paying my bills, doing all the things. And then all of a sudden I get a bill in that I'm not expecting. And then that's that wind and that distraction. And then I start sinking in my vibration. And so I was living at a high vibe, but as I have this encounter, it lowers my vibration. And then the 3D world starts to express itself differently to me. So then I start to experience more opportunities to feel this despair and this sinking feeling. Whereas when I can remember who I truly am and that everything is happening for good, it can help me to have control of my mind rather than my mind controlling my emotions. And in that space, I can create a whole new reality where I am staying above the water.
Absolutely. The way manifestation and attraction of the law of magnetic attraction work is that it first begins with a thought. We place a thought in a mental plane or mental matrix, and then that thought, we attach a feeling to it. That's why the heart will palpitate. We give life, breath to that thought, and as we give breath to that thought, we begin to attract the experience. And so exactly to your point, that when the individual, high vibe, started the day excellently, and then a thought presents itself, it could be an impulse by, like you said, a bill or a call from someone, and the thought of what if this or what if that thought is entertained. And when that thought is entertained, then the heart, the feeling energizes that thought and begins to densify that individual's vibration. And when the vibration drops, it begins to attract all of the experiences that are related to the three-dimensional world, the three-dimensional lower world. And so reality changes. As opposed to reality being one of bliss and joy and happiness, it begins to be one of more depressed, so to speak, energies and feelings.
So I'm going to read this passage in here. And before I do, though, I do want to say thank you guys for being here, and definitely like and subscribe to our channel. Just click the little bell, and that way you'll get notifications when we go live. And we are launching a 8-week archetype course that helps us to gain control of our minds rather than controlling us. So definitely stay tuned for that. And so what I want to read, that's why this came up, is the question is, why did you doubt? Highlights the lack of faith, withdraws energy from the natural flow of universal love. Doubt is described as an undermining of what you have known and believed. Maintaining 100% personal power, faith, unconditional love, and wisdom is necessary to transcend fear and doubt. When you have fear, you cannot have faith, and vice versa. So truly starting to be more aware of our every thought and every choice, because our decisions make our destiny. And so here we all are. So that being said, it leads us into the path of discipleship and initiation. And I know that a lot of people have had, religious trauma and things like that. So when I think of discipleship, sometimes I feel a little heaviness of like, oh, am I supposed to be doing that? Like, is that really? And really understanding that discipleship and initiation is really just listening to that inner calling to be doing something maybe slightly different than we're doing now. And sometimes it is very uncomfortable. Actually, most times it is. And that's where this passage comes in, because it's time to make the uncomfortable comfortable and the comfortable uncomfortable, vice versa, so that we can step into who we truly came here to be, rather than the programs that society taught us of who we are. So with that being said, what do you have to say about discipleship and initiation and stepping out of the comfort zone?
Oh, excellent. So the word disciple essentially just means following after a discipline. So a person that has found a specific path. And on every path, it's like a person who has found a specific school, a university, or a college. And in every path, you have degrees. You'll have, your first degree, your second degree, what have you, your first class, second class. And so a disciple is someone who is following after a discipline with diligence and determination to complete. And on that path, or in that school, being disciplined on that path gives a person the different levels of graduation, so to speak, or we call them initiations. When you pass the first level, you're on the first level of initiation. And essentially in esotericism, the path is to transcend we all know that there's only one path really for all of us. It might show up in different schools, but the path is inside us. Each one of us, we are the path. What we're looking for is within us. And the first level of initiation is to transcend our physical body. The next level is transcending our etheric. The next is transcending our mental, then transcending our emotional. Emotional being one of the largest bodies to transcend. All of this path represents earth, fire, water, earth, air, fire, and water. Water being one of the largest, and we can see on the earth that the emotional body, which is the water, is the largest element on the earth. So discipleship, or being a disciple, essentially means following after a discipline, and following it diligently to pass the levels of initiation.
Beautiful. And so what I hear you're saying is that gets us past the midway spot, as I'm reading here. And so the midway spot is that, like, it's almost like a blind faith. And then once we all of a sudden realize, holy cow, I might really be drowning, then the fear actually hits us and we lose our inner voice. I really like this next sentence. It says, fear holds the world in thrall, and no one is exempt from its influence. And so when we look at the world and what's going on, we can instantly get set into fear. If you watch the news for 5 minutes, then you can go into that fear. So just looking to see that getting control of our inner voice, especially in this time, to be that self-governing, is like so valuable right now, more than any time ever. And so just knowing that we're on a huge precipice of change, the whole world is. And so knowing that as we can go within, those answers truly are there. And so it just takes that discipline and that practice of taking that time to go within. We're taught to spend all of our energy on all of the things out there when truly it begins within. Do you have anything more that you want to say about, and really quick, with you are in good company and not alone, I do believe that who we surround ourselves is who we become. Sometimes we're here to help others. And also, you want to have like 5 or 6 people, be where you want to go. And they don't have to be like physical people. You could be, I love to listen to Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks and Mel Robbins. So those are some of the influences that influence my life to help me stay on a higher vibration more of the time. And none of us are perfect. So giving ourselves compassion and grace when we fall. But Peter, what would you have to say about, those inner practices and surrounding yourself with good company?
Yeah, I guess I believe to your point that the key thing for each individual is to identify what their community is and where their community is, and to keep in touch constantly. There are three important components, and we study it in the Tao, is to find, the teaching. So what path exactly are you following? Is it Christianity or mystical Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, Theosophy, ascended master teachings? What exactly, exact path are you following that enables you to go beyond the natural world, the natural teachings in the world? And then the second thing is to find the group of people that you want to associate with on a regular basis, that could serve as your accountability, so to speak, or, individuals that can continue to revitalize the seed thoughts that you have in that direction. Because if you study, when a person studies some, deep knowledge, the Bible tells us that, you read the word and you get the knowledge, that is concrete. I say, wow, I believe that. I just heard something that I can do all things, blah, blah, blah. What happens is that the world, the Bible calls it the world, or the Bible calls it the devil, comes and steals that knowledge from you. So if a person doesn't have a group, a community, a place where that word is being discussed, then that word becomes stolen, the seed becomes stolen from their heart, and they find themselves in low vibration. So the community is next, and then of course finding a holy house. A holy house essentially means a place where people have positive intention, and people gather there constantly, souls gather there with positive intention. It means that that location has higher vibe, and it's like, soaking yourself into, high vibration. You come out and you're high vibe as well. So also finding a location where people have positive intention, are, praising and worshiping and have good intention to raise one's vibration as well. So these three important things are taught in Taoism: finding a teaching, finding a community, Sangha, and finding a place of worship, or a place of, positive intention, where God or the source is being, called. That energy of ascended beings and saints are being called in. It could be a church, it could be, a temple, what have you, so that you can raise your vibration by resonating with the energies in that location.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And then thinking about the inner world, and then being in good company there. We do talk a lot about the archetypes, Peter, and we are launching our course on gaining that deeper understanding. And so just if you don't know, the archetypes are the roles that we play in life. So like I may be playing a victim or a child or a lover or a sage. So just as we see, we have our true self, which is this observer self, and then we have all these roles that we play. And so when we can be constant in that observer self, and that's a lot of the work that we're doing and that we're talking about now, that discipleship, that's what we're doing, is finding that whole self. And then we can talk to these different parts and be like, okay, right now I need courage, so I'm going to pull my warrior forth. Right now I'm feeling like a victim, maybe I need to bring my nurturer forth. And so we can do this work within as well as without. And so it's just a beautiful place to be, and we look forward to continue to grow together with you guys. And with that being said, we do have some practical application and some weekly steps. Before we get into the practical application, is there anything more that you would like to say, Peter?
We can go ahead with the
Okay.
practical applications. Yeah.
So for this, I'm going to just read. The passage offers several key principles for the spiritual practitioner: cultivating inner peace and steadfastness. Peace is essential for manifestation and healing. To walk on water, Jesus had such great peace. Disciples are urged to cultivate the silence that comes from the inner calm, which involves developing a perfect steadiness of inner voice that masters require in those they seek to use. Number 2 is controlling the emotional and mental bodies. This one is a big one. Peter's sinking highlights the need for constant work with the lower self to keep the channel of communication open between the soul and the brain via the mind. The second initiation marks the crisis of control of the astral body. It requires a conscious effort to quiet your astral body and steady the mind. And again, what is the astral body, Peter?
It's the emotional plane.
Okay, so the emotional plane is the astral and the etheric is the mental?
No,
Okay, not the etheric.
The mental body is in the mental plane. The etheric is the soul plane.
So there's, okay, perfect. Astral is emotions, etheric is the
soul,
and then the mental is literally the mental body.
Yeah.
So all three of those are very important. Transcending fear and doubt. Practically, this means refusing to acknowledge fear's existence. By an act of spiritual will and flush the entire personality with pure light during moments of panic. It involves understanding that all is an illusion when residing in the shadows and to come forth in the light of day. Cool. And then living as the soul. The ultimate goal is to live as the soul and forget the personality. Peter's momentary lapse was due to the personality's fear overriding his soul's potential. The spiritual path is not always smooth. It has periods of ebb and flow. It is important to strenuously resist times of doubt and overcome through meditation and prayer.
Absolutely.
Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. This passage serves as a potent reminder that while divine power and potential reside within us, the journey requires unwavering faith, mastery over one's lower nature, and a willingness to step beyond perceived comfort zone, knowing that divine assistance is always at hand. Before we go into the exercise, do you want to say anything about practical application?
Yeah, I believe two things that really stands out, or three things that really stands out here in this practical application is one, inner peace, and then transcending fear and doubt. Those, if anyone takes anything from this lesson, that's the key thing, is the ability to maintain inner peace when one is faced with fears and doubts. Still steady, keeping one's mind steady in the doubt, steady in the light. So I guess maybe I can say that three things: inner peace, transcending fear and doubt through the mastery of our four lower bodies. In summary, inner peace, transcending our fears and our doubts through the mastery of our four lower bodies, because the fears and doubts are coming from our four lower bodies, which is physical, etheric, mental, and emotional. We maintain inner peace by, like Katie said, remembering who we are. We are source beings, we are high vibe beings, we are the I am, and we maintain the inner peace to overcome, to transcend fear and doubt through the mastery of our four lower bodies.
Well, I think there's 2 points on too that you hit on. So when it comes to fear, and I'm going to say fear of stuff happening around us. If we think about it, I'll be in fear of doing a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live or whatever, or I don't know, whatever fears that we have. And when we think about it, most of the things that we're afraid of never actually happen. So we spend a lot of time in that space. And then the other one was fear and what else?
Inner peace.
Inner peace. So thinking about relationships. And I think those are what cause us to get out of inner peace the most. Bills and relationships, right? And so thinking about relationships, and as we're having conflict and our inner peace is being shaken, being able to give ourselves that space to ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? And then yesterday I did a Facebook Live about this, and seeing the intention of the person that's shaking your inner peace. Like, are they a really bad person, or are they just having a bad day? Because most people are not doing things towards us. They're doing stuff out of their own fear as well. And then it just is a reaction where we just keep going back and forth. So when we can stay steady in our inner place of peacefulness, then we can see the storm for what it truly is. Cool. So then the weekly exercise this week is Faith Step Challenge. Choose one small action each day that stretches your comfort zone. Anything from striking up a sincere conversation with a stranger to volunteering for a task that slightly intimidates you. Before acting, stand tall, breathe in 4 counts, picture yourself walking steadily across a calm lake, and affirm out loud, I move in faith, and the divine moves me. On the exhale, take a literal step forward and complete the chosen task. Each evening, jot down how the experience felt and any insight gained. Consistently pairing a micro challenge with breath, visualization, and affirmation rewires fear circuits, strengthens self trust, and mirrors Peter's lesson on focusing on inner support rather than the external wins. Anything that you want to say before we end for today, Peter?
The reason why we do what we do is recognizing that this is our exam, this is our test in life. When we're born, we're not, consciously, parents don't tell, children that you're here in a school, and the school, you pass through the school by overcoming your fears and your doubts. And the more you overcome your fears and your doubts, the more you find your true self. And when you find your true self, you pass, you graduate from the school. You don't have to come back and redo the school, what we call cyclic existence. Some people might call it reincarnation. But we pass Earth school by overcoming all of our fears and doubts, and they keep presenting themselves in different forms. Jesus Christ was faced with the cross, but he wasn't. Initially, he was skeptical and said, "Father, let this pass over me." But when he was on the cross, he wasn't, panicking, and he met with Pilate, and so even though he faced one of the greatest fears that anyone can face is the fear of death, and he faced the fear of death in confidence. So our test here on earth, each one of us as soul streams, is overcoming our fears and doubts as they present us themselves by maintaining inner peace, recognizing our identity as the I am. Christ recognized that he was the same with the source. The physical world is just a dream. We're here to create and manifest. We manifest abundance by connecting ourselves back to our true source I am, that I am. In summary.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, and I love that you talk about a lot of us believe that we're here to work for somebody else's dream or work for our own dreams, and we're here to just work and be on earth, when truly it is about overcoming obstacles and learning how to be a new version of ourselves every day and a higher level vibration of ourselves. And so just doing our best every day, and every day our best is different. So with that, I think that we're complete.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your time. We look forward to continuing to grow together. Definitely stay tuned, and push a little bell notification to follow our channel. Also, you can check out www.root-awakening.com and see some of the awesome things that we're doing to help raise all of our vibrations. So again, we look forward to continuing to grow together. Much love.